Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines community as a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common.
The commonality we have as a people is the desire for connection and fundamental right to become our greatest and most triumphant selves.
Today, we are uplifting the voice of students and making space to realize their best self and build into community. We will go into how Columbus City Schools is supporting students with restorative circles.
Then we will sit with former Columbus City Schools student and City Council President Shannon Hardin and CCS students for a real conversation on how we come together to support one another with the We Got Us initiative.
And now a word from our sponsor, Columbus City Schools.
Greetings and welcome to this week's highlights from across the district. In a spectacular finale at East High School, the Region 3 Extracurriculum Extended Learning League, also known as REAL, wrapped up a thrilling basketball season. Over 8 weeks, students from 14 CCS elementary schools not only dedicated their Saturdays to enhancing skills, sportsmanship, friendship, and fun, but also engaged in a service project, gathering donations to positively impact the community. The Columbus Afrocentric Early College Lady Nubians have secured their 9th state championship title in a thrilling victory. With determination and exceptional skill, they've once again risen to the top, showcasing their dominance in high school basketball. Congratulations to our Lady Nubians for their historic achievement and excellence throughout the season. Your relentless pursuit of greatness and commitment to teamwork have solidified your legacy as true champions on and off the court. Let's celebrate this remarkable milestone and honor the outstanding achievements of our beloved team. Go CAEC!
Are we creating more opportunities for students to actually lead the culture and climate in our schools? What is the form that that leadership would take?
Student-led restorative practices, SLRP, is students leading the way.
Student-led restorative practices is putting the power into the students to help resolve conflicts both between students and between adults and students.
Practicing mediation, practicing how to deal with conflict resolution.
To hear what other students think from different perspectives. So the main goal of SLRP is for students to be heard.
There's a lot of conflict between students. This spills over into the school. The SLRP allows us to address those conflict issues.
I wanted to do an SLRP because I wanted to try to help to alleviate some of that.
I wanted to change my school and the atmosphere that we have.
For kids to know that every time you do wrong, you don't just have to be punished, you can learn from your mistakes.
I wanted to mainly help people at home, like my family or my friends.
There are a few tools that students need to have in their toolbox in order to be effective at leading restorative practices. And so we spend 3 days really fine-tuning students' ability to deploy those tools. And often that coincides with experience of discomfort. The expectation is for them to lean into that discomfort and to participate to experience your own greatness. But if a school wants to go this direction, they need to commit to it fully. And so you have to train adults, you have to train students, and then you have to make space for implementation of the work after you've trained your adults and students.
Our goal is to have 100% of our staff members trained, and we'll have a building-wide embrace of SLRP.
It's been so exciting to see the climate and the culture differently because the adults are saying, wow, these students are really stepping up doing great things.
Recruitment for this work really only follows one major rule. You want everybody. students across the academic proficiency spectrum, grade level diversity, but then also discipline diversity. This work is for all students, and when I say all, I in fact mean all students.
Seeing students who struggle with discipline, or seeing students who wasn't coming to school all the time, but because they're part of this leadership program, they're saying, I gotta come to school because I'm a leader now. That's powerful. Student-led restorative practices has changed the culture and climate in so many ways.
Insubordination, that has decreased. Threats, that has decreased. The number of fights, that has decreased.
It makes me reflect on myself, on my behavior. Now I have a different outlook on things to where I can really learn from the mistakes that are made and change it.
I see a lot of kids, instead of using violence, using communication. With SLRP, students get to have a voice.
In the future, I'm hoping that it can be a much more widely adopted in my school.
If I can help teach my generation now and my peers how to use communication, it can follow to that generation after them.
Every training that we do, we're building that community.
It gives us options, it gives us a chance to grow as people and as a community.
It gives us relationships that'll last us for a very long time inside of our schools.
Makes everything so much more open in the school. Everyone feels like they can really talk to each other.
The relationships are healthier and they look out for each other.
The students that are certified, they run circles in their classes. It helps them build rapport with one another. It helps the kid that normally don't talk. It helps people hear their voice.
What's really powerful is that once learned, these are tools that students can draw upon in anywhere in their life.
I don't think education is only about math or English.
If it's not about A's and B's, let it be how can we deal with stress management? How can we deal with mental health? How can we deal with just social, emotional regulation?
We cannot, as a society, function unless students have the academic knowledge and skills necessary and the social emotional knowledge and skills necessary to live a life of choice, to live a life of agency.
The amount that you can communicate has grown so much more in the past 20 years that communicating our problems needs to grow with that.
We're adding to the toolbox of students. We're giving them the social emotional learning skills they need. We're teaching them how to be great facilitators, great coaches.
If we get more practice of SLRP in our school, the more people will reflect on their decisions.
It is such a phenomenal experience.
Everybody should try it.
It's gonna be big.
I think the sky's the limit for SLRP.
Welcome to the Faces Roundtable. This evening we have been talking about We Got Us and all kinds of important things for our community. But I have some amazing people around the table with me, and so we have, of course, our Columbus City Council President, Shannon Hardin. We have two amazing students joining us, Fana Kane, CCS Superintendent Student Ambassador and student at Afrocentric Early College High School, and Aaliyah Chenault, CCS Student Ambassador, who is a student at the Columbus Online Academy. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
So we've heard the stories and the statistics. Now let's have a conversation. We can speak directly to students and local leaders to work together to address these things that are top of mind for us. So I'm going to open the floor with our students to just ask you a general question. So your generation has been exposed to unprecedented heartaches and hardships. You've had a global pandemic. There's been a lot of things happening. And we talk about the violence and civil unrest, the world wars, right? You get the gist of where we're going with this. So what do you see when you wake up and look out into the world?
I see fear. I see heartache. I see pain. I feel like growing up, I didn't really have that support system. And going to Columbus City Schools, teachers were my parents. They were my role models. And they were the ones I looked up to confide in. And I think seeing students, and especially friends, they all separated once I got into high school. And it was kind of hard, and seeing how they didn't really have that support system like I did from them teachers. And violence started really, it really played a big part. I think after COVID, everyone got mental health really became a big part of after COVID. And so it was really an adjustment after COVID to learn how to, for one, go back into the world after the mask and after not being able to see each other's faces, but also see that pain of lost and loved ones that we lost from COVID.
Thank you.
Well, I personally I just see a lot of lost people walking around thinking they know what they're doing, and they really don't, because everybody feels like violence is the answer to everything, the answer to, you know, not being treated fairly, when it's really not. It's just being able to talk to each other. And I'm more of a family person, so I'm really close to my mom and close to my brothers, my nieces, my nephews. So being scared to one day they could just be gone like that, like you can see them, then 5 minutes later they're gone, it's just really lost in the world, because it's just like too much going on at little timing and little spaces and too close. You never know how close you are to somebody until you lose them or they just aren't there anymore. So seeing that outside in the world and seeing that inside of my family's faces and my friends' faces of just being lost, it just really hurts, and it's harmful to see.
Wow. So you both mentioned a couple of things after COVID that really sticks out to me. I hear you talking about self-regulation and people really struggling with that. And then also de-escalation. People shoot right up, but they can't de-escalate in situations. So thank you for sharing those pieces with us. So you were a part of We Got Us, the kickoff event at the Social Justice Park. And you both bravely shared some heavy personal experiences. Can you share any of your, or would you share any of your stories with us today?
2 years ago, around Christmas time, I lost my sister due to domestic violence. And it wasn't so much as in her dying, it was just the fact that somebody so close to us can just take somebody out of everybody else's life just because they feel it's fair. It's just not right to me. And I've, not to say come to peace with it, but I've come to mind that that's how people think nowadays. I can't change how people feel or think of towards each other. I just have to change how I react. So it's been real difficult. And then a few months later, my brother was shot for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then a few months later after that, my grandma died we feel like it's a broken heart because just so much going on in our family. So it's been real tough dealing with it for the past few years or so. But I'm here now, and I feel like every loss that has come upon me, it's made me a better person, and it's made me more aware to more situations than I was before.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us. And even though you were sharing some really tough things with us just now, I could still see your heart, and you were able to smile through the pain. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us in this space.
Over the past 2 years, I've lost 13 friends and loved ones due to violence. Growing up, I saw my mom in a domestic violence relationship, and I was very angry, which made me lash out. I used to hit my siblings because I saw what my mom was getting done to her. And then over time, I saw family members get shot and killed, friends just drifting away and getting killed, and it broke my heart.
Wow. Wow. Thank you both for just your resilience through what you've gone through. We really appreciate you being here. So I wanted to ask, as a Columbus native and a CCS graduate, and our CCS, or not our CCS president, right? Our Columbus City Council president, how do stories like this impact you?
Well, it's the reason we created We Got Us, because at the end of the day, because I'm from this community, because I went literally to the schools that you went to, the Afrocentric and the Cause, and grew up in the same neighborhoods that everyone around this table has grown up in. I know that I know how this violence is touching people. So many folks experience violence through reading about it on the news or seeing it on TV. But for so many of us, we experience it because it happened to us, and we've seen it, we're living it. And so I think a lot about the neighborhood like I grew up in Southfield, where we have the capacity amongst us in our families and our churches and our schools to be better neighbors, to look out for one another, to hold each other accountable, and not truthfully to put everything just on the police, and maybe it's an acknowledgement from your city leader that we can't do it alone. You know, safety is my top priority, to make sure that you and your families are safe. But the reality is, if I could do it alone, or if we could do it alone, we would have done it already. And so to me, it means that because I know our community, because I remember at Afrocentric talking about it takes a village to raise a child, I know that the solutions are not down at City Hall. They're in each and one of our homes, each one of our streets, each one of our churches, each one of our rec centers. Those are where the solutions are going to be found to keep each and every one of us safe. And the last thing I will say is that this is a heavy topic. We're talking about safety, and Fanon, hearing your story again, it just reminds us how real this is. But you know, I also am more inspired every time I hear you speak, both of you, Fanon and Aaliyah, because literally you are our future. And the way that you talk about, and what I was blown away at the press conference was, they spoke really before I did, and my talking points, I was going to ask for people to bring solutions to help us figure this out. The thing I was most blown away by what you spoke about at the press conference was you gave us a list of very specific things that we need to do to make our community safe. Those are things that now we have to work with, that becomes our agenda. That becomes now our agenda because it was very specific. Those are things that we can work on. And so I am more inspired now. I'm grateful for you and your leadership. I'm excited about your generation and what you will bring to the city of Columbus. And again, We Got Us is all about saying that we have the ability, that we have the faculty to figure this thing out amongst us. And I'm more confident of that just hearing from Fanon and Aaliyah today.
Wow, thank you. And so thinking about the common threads that are at the root of all pain, and on the legislative side, are you seeing any patterns, or what is some of the data revealing?
Well, I think that, I talk about this often, and I was appreciated that you started with this. We cannot minimize that we went through a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I am not someone who makes just excuses or an apologist, but our young people went through a once-in-a-100-year experience going through COVID and the impacts of it. I say that I darn near lost my mind, and during COVID, and I never had to worry about food on the table. I never had to worry about, did I have a roof over my head? I never had to worry about, drugs coming in and out of my home or the thing. So then you put a family member, or specifically a young person whose family maybe already were teetering on the edge with all of those challenges. And then you layer on this pandemic that took away every social structure that allows us to take care of a family that is struggling. You take that away for a year. Like, what did we think was going to happen? Like there is a cause and an effect to this, and the way that I know that is true because this spike in violence, youth violence, is not just happening in Columbus. Yes. It's happening in every community around the country. The thing that makes me excited, or the thing that makes me hopeful, is that I believe in Columbus, though, we have the skills, we have the people, we have the organizations that care and that can figure this thing out. And so we're using an all-in approach. When it comes to youth violence in particular, I was really appreciative that the mayor last year created the Office of Violence Prevention that really will focus on bringing all of the efforts both inside the city and externally, all of our community partners together to move forward a safety agenda that puts people first. But you know, again, We Got Us reminds us though that the real solution will not come from City Hall. It's going to come from community members. It's going to come from the work that we do collectively, and remembering that there is power in grandma being there. Yes. And having those wise words. There is power in the coach doing more than executing plays, but being another father figure to these young people. There is power in that pastor who has a word on Sunday, but also is able to follow up on Tuesday and Thursday with these young people. There's power out there amongst us that has nothing to do with City Hall.
Wow, thank you. You talked about just really, We Got Us. We talk in our educational setting of we can't do it alone. And it's the same concept. We all have to do this together. So thank you for that. So as we have 3 generations of living here. We are living, working, and coming of age in the city of Columbus. And so I'll just ask you both, how should we learn to understand one another?
I'm gonna say silence. That old saying is, silence is loud. And I've noticed a lot of silence in Columbus. And I feel like if you listen to that silence, that should tell you everything. And you actually hear each other, and you take time to really hear the words, not just the speaking, the voice, but hear the words and hear the meaning behind them and the pain that's in each other's eyes. I really, really think we can go somewhere.
Thank you.
I feel like being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and not have biased opinions about people, and being able to, like she said, listen to people and try to understand them before having an opinion, I feel like we would be able to get somewhere, because most violence is just from people doing what they think that's how they portray. Like, if you live in the hood, they gonna think you a hood dude. So it's like, that's just how people think they supposed to be. That's how the younger generation thinks they're supposed to be. They think they're supposed to be, toting guns and being violent, but that's because that's all that's being portrayed right now. In the music videos, on Instagram, on Snapchat, it's just, that's what we see. So that's what they think.
Wow, silence, care instead of judgment. Thank you. And so, Council President Hardin, from your perspective, what can we do?
I mean, listen to them. I mean, that was as clear of an assessment. Yes. And identifying what the opportunities for us to come together are. Flan talked about seeing things. We can't expect for young people to be what they don't see. Yes. And again, that brings me back to We Got Us. So many of our community members, especially if you grew up in the hood, grew up in Southfield or on Fairwood and Livingston, where the other place I grew up, you don't see the black doctor or so who grew up there but then moved to Dublin. You just don't see them anymore. And so why would we expect that the kids going to Fairwood Elementary would think that them being a doctor or a lawyer is something that they can do? They just don't see it. And what you're left with are, examples of, they're just seeing other people who are struggling too. And so to your point, that's just the way we're supposed to be to get by, that we have to be out there this way. And so, you know, We Got Us is a call to all of us. Like, it's not just students, it's not even people who just live in Columbus anymore. This is a call out to all of us who still care about the larger community that we've grown up in, that we are going to raise our children in, to figure out what is the one little thing that you can do to give back. And if showing up in those spaces is the thing that you can do to show some of our young people that you can do it too, then that's what you need to do. If it is creating space where we are less judgmental and we just listen to one another, then that's what you should do. And I think that the silence speaking loudly is a really good way to focus on seeing people and listening and trying to put yourself, being empathetic.
Wow. So these are heavy topics. And again, I keep saying thank you for just bringing them forward, because we have to shed light on what's happening and we have to hear from you directly. The common theme or thread through all of it is us working together as a community to be still, to listen, and decide to find the lessons in the pain so we can unearth the joy. So my final question is a little lighter, okay, to each of you. And that is, if you could choose one superpower, what would it be?
Teleporting. I'll just be teleporting around. You know, I would be here way faster than I was supposed to get here.
So you would teleport, okay.
Healing. I would give people that peace of mind. I feel like a lot of people don't get to live their life before they pass, and I want to make sure people are happy. And I want to make sure no matter what I do, I make an impact and I'm happy. So.
Wow, thank you. And
wow, I don't know. I mean, I kind of want both of those superpowers. Like that would be great. You know, I think it would be the ability to, I probably kind of what Aaliyah saying, to touch people, to know that like your actions have impact right away. I think that would be, regardless if that is just like moving people in the right direction or showing that we care, having a superpower that gives direct impact right away would be pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, you give great impact anyway, so thank you. Thank you all for being here. I just really, truly appreciate the conversation and for you taking time to just shed some light on, again, some really important topics. And I know, any final words as it relates to We Got Us?
We just want to say thank you to Dr. Chapman and Mama Mia for giving us this amazing opportunity to hear our voice and to really make an impact on our youth. So
awesome. Well,
the only thing that I would add is that to date there have been 250 people that have signed on to take the pledge. There are 915,000 people in the city of Columbus, and I know that all of us care about safety. So I would just encourage people to go to wegotuscbus.com and take the pledge. And be a part of this movement that is going to spread across our city and change the trajectory for our community.
All right, thank you. So you heard it here, wegotuscbus.com.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
We Got Us is a call and a commitment and a pledge to stand together as neighbors, to keep Columbus safe, to watch out for one another, and take small but impactful steps to be there when it most matters. Together, we can create safer streets, stronger neighborhoods, and a brighter future for all. A safer Columbus truly starts with us. Columbus, we got us.
Join us in this commitment. Together, we can make Columbus a safer and better place to call home.
Thank you for tuning into Faces, the show that gives you access to all points Columbus and Columbus City Schools.
From our district departments to our community partners, we are bringing our families and community together for a conversation to discover what connects us all, the joy of learning.
Remember, be courageous.
Be yourself. Be the light you wish to see.